we have it all. The IRS shopping list includes everything from wine, check this out, to romance novels, even a cabinet of unused Nerf balls. Can you believe this? And online pornography. Well, we don't have that one for you, but it's on their computers. And yes, of course, you know what? You paid for it all.
Wow. Pile-on day at the IRS. Another round of embarrassing information.
Workers use agency credit cards to buy 28 expensive bottles of wine. How nice.
A romance novel.
Diet pills.
Baby clothes. Your tax dollars at work. 2
IRS credit cards were used to buy pornography, but the employees had reported those cards stolen.
The IRS spent $4,000 for a popcorn machine rental. And free prizes including plush animals, sunglasses, and stovetop hats, kazoos, bathtub toy boats, and Thomas the Tank Engine rubber wristbands. Shep, this is for adults, mind you.
Your tax dollars at work.
The IRS failed to cancel 378 credit cards in cases where employees had left the IRS.
Republicans, Democrats, Independents should be very worried about an agency that powerful in government looking after your political beliefs.
Who cares whether they're right or left? The fact that they're targeting people for harassment based upon their political beliefs should be cause enough alone for outrage.
Not enough people are saying this is not acceptable. We need to find out what went wrong and why.
And I'm afraid right now our country doesn't trust us as leaders to govern it.
Your tax dollars at work.
Well, if you thought line dancing was a waste of your tax dollars, brace yourself. A just released IRS Inspector General report showing IRS agency credit cards were used to make unthinkable credit card purchases, wine, pornography, and more. Congressman Peter Roskam joins us. This is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and it's unsettling at a whole lot of levels. I mean, there's the targeting, there's the lying, and now there's the spending on absurdity with just impunity. And I've got a prediction, Greta. The prediction is this. History is measured by tipping points, and I think that this is going to be a tipping point in how the relationship is between the governed and those who govern us. And this is a huge event, and its consequences, I think, are going to be far and wide.
Well, the numbers here that they used agency credit cards to buy wine for an expensive luncheon, 28 bottles. One of my favorite purchases by the IRS that we paid for, diet pills. What are the bunch? I mean, maybe if we ever buying them these big lunches with big wine, they need to get diet pills. I don't know, but why are we paying for that? And even baby clothes.
Look, it goes on and on and on. If you think about a culture now, and that's really what we're seeing. We're seeing not just one-off episodes of one aberrant behavior after another, but it's all within a larger context. It's a culture of abuse now, abuse of resources that were entrusted to them, and abuse of power as it relates to us.
I think you're kinder. You say it's a culture. I actually think this is a crime. I think when you take, actually I don't think, when you take someone else's money for which you have no authority to do so, and you use it or you take it, that is a crime. It's called stealing. And I don't care what, I cannot in my wildest dreams think that any person, if we brought any person in from the IRS and said, is it okay to buy baby clothes on a credit card, on an agency credit card? I mean, that's not even a close question. Or diet pills, or 28 bottles of wine. And this may seem like a small number, but even like a $50 bottle of wine, that's a couple weeks of student lunches for some family. Well, you know what I mean? Who's out there? I mean, why are these people just stealing it? Are you going to refer this to the Justice Department to tell Eric Holder, open a criminal investigation, and let's stop just looking the other way?
Yeah, I mean, without question, the work that the Ways and Means Committee has done, the work that the Government Oversight Committee has done, is the reason, in large part, that we're able to have this discussion. And it's basically pressure from Capitol Hill that's driving this. Now with the Inspector General's report and other types of inquiries and oversight is why this is all coming to a head. And I think it's in this larger context of just an abuse of power and a manipulation. And if you think about people, I mean, think about the sort of pathetic joke that this is. They're taking resources, abusing resources, and then these same people are deciding who gets to participate in the public square and to debate these things.
You know, in some instances, they say that some of the credit card purchases, that the credit cards were stolen. But if a credit card is stolen, you notify the credit card company and you get it cut off.
You shut it off
immediately.
Quickly.
And look, the commissioner, this is his job. to run the IRS. I don't care if he's an acting one, I don't know if the one before, every single manager, every single supervisor. But, you know, even the person who's down at the bottom of the totem pole, anyone who bought one Nerf ball and charged it to the American people should know better. Just a sense of decency. I don't want, and I think these stupid workshops to learn how to do their jobs are ridiculous. Just stop stealing.
The videos, the conferences, the overspending, the abuse of power, the targeting, the manipulation, the lying. I'm telling you, this is a tipping point, and it is a tipping point that's going to be very significant.
Will you lean on the Department of Justice to actually open a criminal investigation and see whether anybody has defrauded the American people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where this goes when it all comes down to it, and I think that's where it ends.
Well, I hope that the Attorney General aggressively investigates this. Even on online pornography we have to pay for. Anyway, Congressman, thank you, sir. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Greta.
The credit card abuse is not the only new black eye for the IRS tonight. Get this, questionable, maybe even shady, or maybe even illegal contracting practices at the IRS. House Oversight Committee Chair Darrell Issa releasing a new report. Chairman Issa joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for continuing to cover the most dysfunctional agency one could imagine on so many fronts.
I think a lot of citizens would agree with you. All right, before I even get to the whole contracting business, I want to talk about Lois Lerner. Friday, there's some. You're going to have at least a meeting about her.
We are. We're going to meet to consider whether she waived her Fifth Amendment rights in the way that she swore, then gave multiple testimony before asserting Fifth Amendment rights.
What do you mean meeting? Who's going to be there? Is she going to be there?
No, it'll be members of the committee, and we've sought counsel from the House, the independent House counsel, and we'll make a decision about whether or not that sequence of event did, as Trey Gowdy suggested, waived her rights. You don't get to pick and choose when you say one thing and then won't answer questions about what you've said, and Congressman Gowdy brought that. We're now going to consider it.
For the life of me, I've known her lawyer for a long time. I've been around this town a long time. For the life of me, I don't understand why he put her in a position where where you're even debating it. She could easily have taken the Fifth, said nothing further, gone out on the steps of the U.S. Capitol and said her piece. But instead now she's in this precarious position. But we'll find out what happens on Friday. If she has waived it, you're going to then call her back?
We're then going to try to get full testimony, get to the truth, which we believe she can be very helpful in.
All right, let's go to this, the IRS contracting. What in the world is going on there? We have the IRS Deputy Director Gregory Roseman testifying, as well as the President Chief Executive Officer of Strongcast. I don't know why they're showing up tomorrow, because the report is rather, at least if I were these two, I'd be a little concerned.
Well, they're asserting that they've done nothing wrong legally. Our report endeavors to lay out the facts. It's one of those, we'll give you the facts, you decide. But it certainly seems like it's not the intent of Congress, it's not the intent of the American people.
What is it what's the deal? Is that Roseman awarded these contracts, probably the biggest contracts, to someone who he's friends with? Is that the suggestion from the report?
That's the beginning. A friend of now 10 years, that he appears to have coaxed and helped them through the process. But there's a sequence of events that we lay out in our report. One of them is, here's an individual who has a small accident, apparently while playing ball at the prep school. This is not even the Army Academy, but this is a prep school he attended for a few months. And 27 years later, after playing college football, a few months before buying this company and claiming to be a service-connected disabled veteran, he comes in and says, yes, I've got pain in my ankle, gets a 30% disability, then moves his company that he bought for a few dollars, really. It was a very $200,000, $250,000 in business. He moves it into what had formerly been called a hub zone. This is a historically underutilized zone, but it's a zone that in Washington, D.C. that actually is no longer, it's by the Verizon Center, it's no longer underappreciated.
It's just an office.
It's just an office.
His real business is out in Leesburg, Virginia.
His real business is out where rich people like himself live. He then gets what is effectively a set of preferences to go from a company that's never done more than $250,000 in a year to having $43 million of actual booked income in the first year and $500 million in contracts as we sit.
And is Gregory Roseman the one who gives the sign off on all these contracts?
Not completely. Roseman signed off on some, but appears to have advocated in a strong and perhaps inappropriate way for a multitude of them. What we're trying to look at is an agency in crisis. The IRS, when we brought this to their attention, we expected quick action. As we speak today, even though this is not a hub zone, even though he made false statements in his application, and the Small Business Administration has pulled that designation, there's still a $250 million contract that the IRS is buying off of, and says they can't stop buying off of it because it's too critical.
Well, I have a couple quick things. One is that there's also a bizarre set of texts that are going back and forth between the two of them, some of which are slurs on gay people, as I understand the report. But the second thing is, why in the world are these two showing up tomorrow? I mean, I don't get that. If you've got a lot of the stuff I read in the report, my advice to them was, don't show up, take the lowest learner out.
Well, we never know. One or the other or both of them might, and they're both represented by counsel. But at this point, they're both denying any wrongdoing, even though this looks wrong on the face of it. And the important thing is,
look, if you're saying that you're getting a special deal because you're a disabled vet because of a prep school injury, not combat, you didn't serve an active duty. I mean, look. Whatever. I'm just saying that I wouldn't be appearing tomorrow.
And Greta, both Mr. Cummings and myself are on the right side of this and together, in that these set-asides, if you believe in them, should go to small and disadvantaged companies and real impacted zones. So at a minimum, they put $500 million in the hands of somebody who was already wealthy, rather than where it was intended to go.
Well, they may be 100% innocent of any wrongdoing. There may be no criminal wrongdoing, but I've looked at the report, and I think the Department of Justice should also take a look at it as well, not just your committee. But we'll see. We'll see whether or not he shows up tomorrow. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.